This is the Chamber Chat Podcast, the show dedicated to chamber professionals to spark ideas and to get actionable tips and strategies to better serve your members and community.
Hello, Chamber Champions. Welcome to Chamber Chat Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Burton, and it's my goal here on the podcast to introduce you to people and ideas to better help you serve your chamber members and your community. Our title sponsor is Community Matters, Inc. With nearly 20 years in the chamber industry and over 100 media awards presented to their chamber partners, Community Matters provides the R&R that every chamber needs, revenue and recognition. When it comes to publishing a chamber map, directory, or community guide, Community Matters has a trusted experience to help your chamber accomplish your goals. With different advertising sales models and publication styles, Community Matters will help you create a non-dues revenue machine. To learn how Community Matters can support your chamber with your next publication, please visit communitymattersinc.com/podcast to request your free media kit and request a proposal to find out what kind of non-dues revenue you can generate. You're joining us for a special episode in our 2024 Chamber of the Year Finalist series. And our guest for this episode is Sandra Wilson. Sandra is the president and CEO of the Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce. She joined the chamber in 2013. And before that, she was a community volunteer. She was the first woman to serve as chairman of the board for the Paducah Area Chamber of Commerce in 1996, and later also as the first woman chair of the Greater Paducah Economic Development Board. On a statewide level, she served as chairman of the Kentucky Manufacturers Association and on the board of the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce and Leadership Kentucky. She is a past board member of ACCE and serves on the local chamber advisory board for the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce and as chair of the board for the Carson Center Performing Arts Center in Paducah. She is the ambassador for Kentucky for the Association of Leadership Programs. She's a graduate of Murray State University and Leadership Kentucky and Leadership Paducah. In 2017, the Paducah Chamber was named as Chamber of the Year in Category 2 from ACCE. They're also a 5-star accredited chamber by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Sandra holds IOM certification from the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Sandra, it's great to have you back with us on Chamber Chat Podcast. It's always good to get past guests back on the show. But first, congratulations to you and your team for being selected as a Chamber of the Year finalist again. What an accomplishment. Wanted to give you a chance to say hello to all the listeners and to share something interesting about yourself so we can all get to know you a little better.
Oh my goodness, Brandon. Well, thank you so much for hosting us and inviting me to be on the show today. I consider it quite an honor. And we are thrilled to be a finalist in 2024 as Chamber of the Year in Category 2. And we know who the other chambers are, and we look forward to seeing them at the ACCE conference and visiting with them. We have in the past about sharing ideas, and I think that's really what chambers are so good at is sharing ideas of what's working in each other's community so we can all be the best that we can possibly be for our community.
Absolutely. Yes, that Category 2, really all the categories this year, great chambers, great programs, but looking at Category 2 specifically, I know them as well, and it's a good competition all around. So whoever wins this is going to earn it for sure.
It's an honor to be in the category with those other chambers, so we're thrilled about it.
Absolutely. Well, tell us a little bit about the Paducah Area Chamber, and give us some perspective of the size of the chamber, staff, budget, scope of work, just to kind of prepare us for our discussion today.
We are located in Paducah, Kentucky, and it's in the western part of the state of Kentucky. So it's kind of a rural area, but we're located in the city of the rural part of western Kentucky. And we're the largest chamber in this area. We're about 950 members, always pushing to get to 1,000, staying around that area. We have been at 5 staff members until the 1st of June. And the 1st of June, we finally had the opportunity to hire our 6th employee. We, during the last couple of years, we raised money to launch a leadership center within our Chamber of Commerce. So we've hired a full-time executive director that will be staffing that portion of our chamber. And he started June 1st. So it's been different having 6 here. You are so excited to be able to grow and add more staff. We are truly the chamber. Our economic development involvement is we own our building. We just bought our building within the last year, and the Greater Paducah Economic Development is here with us. They're one of our tenants. We work very closely with them in helping to recruit economic development, but we're the chamber. And we work on behalf of our community. We lead the advocacy efforts for our region. We're a hub for small business development programs. We're the convener of people, and we love that part. What we really want to do is just continually work to improve this community, so others that come here and visit it love it as much as we do.
Yeah, absolutely. What a great time to join the chamber, though, for the new staff member. I mean, Chamber of the Year, and yeah, great timing.
Yes.
So on these Chamber of the Year finalist episodes, I like to spend the majority of our time discussing the two programs of work that you guys submitted on your Chamber of the Year application. I think there's a lot there that other chambers listening can learn from and be able to scale and adapt and maybe apply something similar into their communities. So we'll focus the majority of our time on those programs as soon as I get back from this quick break.
Are you looking for a year-round, affordable, and timely shop local campaign for your chamber or CVB? Look no further. Build a custom Eat, Shop, Play mobile app with App My Community by visiting appmycommunity.com/chamberchat. App My Community mobile apps are not just simple membership directory listings. They provide many more capabilities to engage with your community. Provide your residents with a robust events calendar. Partner with a local fair, festival, or farmers market to provide a schedule, map, and other resources to promote the event. Run a small business Saturday campaign any time of the year using built-in scavenger hunts. Allow your membership to communicate directly to their customers via push notifications. Your App My Community mobile app will be a unique member benefit, allow you to generate non-dues revenue with sponsorship opportunities, and best of all, provide a valuable resource to your community. Please visit appmycommunity.com/chamberchat now to receive 10% off your first year of an App My Community mobile app. Are you looking for a way to grow and manage your Chamber of Commerce more effectively? Look no further than Chamber Nation. Their innovative software provides everything you need to streamline operations, engage members, and increase revenue. With features like event management, membership directories, advanced membership tools, mobile apps, community kiosks, and financial reporting, Chamber Nation makes it easy to run your chamber like a well-oiled machine. Don't miss out on this opportunity to take your chamber to the next level. Visit richardscalendar.com to learn more about Chamber Nation today.
All right, Sandra, we are back. As I mentioned before the break, we're going to focus on the two programs that were submitted on your Chamber of the Year application. If you would, please introduce the first program that you'd like to address with us today on the show, and we'll dive into the details of that.
As a chamber, I think it's really important that you look at what is going on in your community and what is the most important program or something that you need to take on and tackle. And for us, it's been the Department of Energy site here in Paducah for many years, but it took a different perspective in the last year and a half. That plant that they announced in 2013 that they were ceasing operations and they would go in what's called legacy environmental management. It was for cleanup of the site, which meant that they were still going to be there for probably 30 to 40 years in the cleanup stage. But it's different than when it was operating. And it was different for us as the way our community needed to embrace the Department of Energy. So we've been in that phase for over 10 years now. And it became apparent to us because we got very involved with the National Trade Association for communities that have a Department of Energy site that's in this phase of cleaning up, the Energy Communities Alliance. We started going to their meetings. We started meeting, we've always been the advocacy organization asking for money, but for the cleanup, but we started looking at what needs to be done out there for the future. We really didn't have a plan for beyond the cleanup phase. there's always an opportunity for economic development to continue. So we applied for a grant with the Department of Energy to lead the reindustrialization study for that site to really map out the future, because there could be a parallel path for the site. You could have the cleanup going on that we're working with now. Again, on our advocacy side for the chamber, we are fighting for funding. We fight for long-term contracts. Those are the things that we're representing there. On the second side of it, the parallel path would be looking at how we could get the land that has been dedicated and managed, owned by the Department of Energy, transferred back to our community so that we could begin to do economic development project programs and overall economic development of that site. So we developed a grant request, and we're very successful to get that. And we're about a year into it now, and we'll be, continuing throughout the next 6 months to a year as well on it. So with that grant request had some major pillars in it, of course, that we have to accomplish. And one of those is identifying infrastructure needs for the land that would be transferred back to the community. And in step one of that, also, we had to do the official formal request from our community for the very first parcel of land to be transferred back to the community. So that has been accomplished. And so now we're looking at what the infrastructures would need, water, roads, all of that, to make that successful in economic development. And then we will continue with working on prospects for economic development. We've been to national conferences to meet with companies that are interested in locating in on a Department of Energy site adjacent to it or nearby. We're working on the workforce, and really we're looking on the workforce for now and for the future. So that's part of our grant that is really overlapping from what's happening now and going into the future for the next few years. And so those were the main things. Those were really a little bit unusual for our chamber because we're not the economic development organization for our community, but we work with economic development very closely. And we have worked with the Department of Energy for so many years that we knew that they have a lot of trust in our chamber, that we have built a relationship with them for the year. So they knew that we would take this very seriously and that we would make sure it's done correctly.
So what kind of things were maybe surprising as you went through the study of trying to revitalize this land? Was there anything that came to light that you didn't expect that has kind of coursed the direction that you're going forward?
I think that identifying the companies that might be interested to come here has been a very interesting prospect. I mean, we can't really, we've just put in the land transfer request. That had to be step number one. And then we'll begin to identify who would be interested in coming here. So there's a lot of opportunity there. The Department of Energy has a lot of funding available for developing new companies, but there's just a lot of things that will come to light as we begin to work through this process.
Yeah. Is there any specific industry or type of business that you feel like would be an ideal candidate for what's on a former Department of Energy land?
There are some that are, mostly nuclear, clean energy, the potential for a small modular reactor. I mean, right now we're identifying those and who would consider coming here. There are a lot of fuel fabrication, a lot of things that are really all new to us as a chamber. But we've been able to work with the context that we built through the many years that we've been involved with the Department of Energy to know who they may be.
Right. Now, as I think of a Chamber of the Year finalist, we're really looking at chambers that are making a big impact in their community. And what you guys are focused on here with this Department of Energy land, this can be a huge impact to the economy in the Paducah area and just a change of atmosphere, if you will, depending on how that goes forward. So I see it being a huge impact in the community.
Thank you. I would totally agree. The decisions that we are making today and that we are identifying for the future really are setting our community for the futures for the next 50 years and beyond, because it's so critical that we diversify our economy here. We've had this Department of Energy site for 60 years. It was a great employer of some of the best jobs in our community. They employed, way over 1,000. They still do that, but it's sometimes in the peaks they've been up to 1,800 to 2,000. And so we became really reliant on that because we had such a good base. But it's important that we continue to diversify all of that economy. Community our size is not a huge geographical large county. So that is available land that we need to focus on for economic development for the future. We have said before when we're meeting with the Department of Energy, we don't want to be part of just their history. We want to be a part of their future. And they have a lot of programs available for working with companies that are looking at the future of energy projects. Our state, for example, we had in our advocacy efforts for 2024 with the state priorities was all quite a bit about nuclear energy. And our state has set aside, established a new nuclear working group advisory board that will be run out of the University of Kentucky. And, they're identifying criteria for making a community nuclear ready. Prior to that, our community had already identified and adopted resolutions by our city government, our county government, our chamber, our economic development, our community reuse organization, stating that we are a community that's nuclear ready. And by that, we meant we've been in this arena for many years. We understand it. We know it. Our workforce knows it. We're ready to go for the next step.
Yeah, oh, that's great. I love what you said about you don't want to just be a part of their history, but a part of the future as well. So I love being forward thinking like that.
Is also, I'll just say what has really put me out in the and a national forefront. I was able to speak at a waste management symposium earlier this year and was on a panel out there where there were, I think, 3,000 people. Now, I didn't speak to the whole full 3,000. I spoke to a panel specific about cleanup of a Department of Energy site. But it's put me in a whole new arena, really talking about that. And I also believe that it is putting chambers of commerce across the country in a new arena where you can show that you adjust to what your community needs are. And we saw this as a really strong need. We embraced it. We were very intentional on how we would move forward with it. And we are going to deliver the best product that we can for our community's path forward. We've called it our roadmap for the community so that whoever picks it up at the end knows exactly the next steps for land transfer, who the economic development prospects are, and has their contacts and knows what they would want for infrastructure needs and knows what the workforce would need to be. So we're preparing our future of the community now.
That's great. I love it. Love it. Love it. Let's shift gears a little bit into the second program that was submitted on your Chamber of the Year application. If you would introduce that to us and kind of the origins and how that's developed.
Well, when I talk about economic development, let me just say, we say it all the time. It happens one job at a time. It's great when you have a new company come in and they're announcing 300 to 400, 500, but you have so many small businesses. And in reality, a Chamber of Commerce for us, located where we are, about 3/4 of our members are considered small businesses. And they're reliant on the big employers around them for the customers and the activity that comes in for them. But they are truly what we would call economic development at its finest. And we have a small business cohort that we've graduated 40 from the program, and we see how they are hiring people, they're expanding, they're opening new locations because of the programs that they have seen that could be successful, how they could develop it and make their own business more successful through what they've learned in our small business cohort. We have all kinds of seminars. We have a lot of programs that go on. We get calls every day about how do you do a business plan? How do you get this? Well, central to that was our Small Business Development Center. The Chamber doesn't house that, but we have a close relationship and partnership with the Small Business Development Center. The way it is structured in our state is they have to raise, it was restructured a little bit where they had to raise the funding locally to keep their program open. When you have somebody that's supposed to be advising small business owners, we didn't want them to have to spend their time. Decided that the chamber, and we went out in the community, and the chamber first of all, and we went to our economic development, our city, our county, and our local organizations that benefit from having a small business development center in our community. And we were able to raise the money that was needed to keep that program open. And they are continuing to be a close partner with us in everything that we do for our small businesses.
So I'm curious, and how you went about raising the money. Was it about just getting the awareness out about what the need was and making strategic asks, or was there some kind of event or fundraiser? What was the approach to raising those funds?
First of all, our Small Business Development Center had a great track record. So they could show the businesses that they had helped and what it had involved with jobs and with economic development. So when you go and talk to a mayor or a county judge and you can show them the benefits and the success that they've been having, it really helps a lot. And we were able to do that. So it was strategic meetings and some phone calls, but we did go to a lot of meetings in person. All of them were our members primarily. We did work with an adjoining county that had some support as well, but that adjoining county is a really close partner with our own county and with our chamber. They've been very involved with us through the years. So we had built those relationships. I think everyone that we asked knew that they could trust us as well, that we wouldn't be behind it if we didn't know that it was going to be a very successful program. And so that's what we did. We mostly, I would say, went one-on-one with meetings, but it wasn't an impossible sale. It was more of an education. And let's face it, everything at the end comes down to making the ask, closing the deal.
Yeah. So you didn't do like a mass email and say, we're collecting funds. It was more strategic and it gave some intention behind that. So I figured.
Yeah, we knew their partners were. We knew who the small businesses that they were helping were working with. We knew that overall, no one wanted to lose this resource that we had in our community. I think that was the number one thing that we all agreed on. It was just, how do we make sure that we're doing the steps that we need to, and somebody has to take the lead. On anything that you're going to do, somebody has to take the lead to make sure that it's being done in a timely way, it's being reported, and that everything that needs to be done when you're looking at raising funds, it was going to the University of Kentucky, that everything that needed to be done was completed the way it should be.
So the raising of the funds, is that something that needs to be done on an annual basis for the Small Business Development Center? Or is it, what kind of interval is that where they need to come up with the funds to justify staying open?
We set it up on a 2-year program. So everyone committed for 2 years. I believe at the end of those 2 years, we will not have any trouble continuing with that, because he's already met his goals for the year right now, and halfway through the year. So he's got the rest of the year to continue, just to build upon that and expand. The one thing that he probably needed to do was be able to expand into other counties. A lot of his work was being done in our immediate area, in Paducah and the immediate surrounding area. But there are other counties in our community that did step in. Our West Kentucky Regional Chamber Alliance stepped in and made a nice contribution to help with them. And they represent 14 counties in West Kentucky. So it was a really opportunity to allow this service to be expanded as well.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You guys came in as heroes. I love it.
So, we really believe in regionalism and how important it is that if our county is successful, it's overflowing into other counties. And if our county next door has businesses opening, more than likely, we're going to benefit from that in some way. And so it's really showed the strength, I think, of working together to support something in your region that is vital and is very important.
What was key to me is how you mentioned it was all built upon the relationships that you guys have built over the years to be able to go make those asks, to make those connections, to be able to lean upon the county next door, and to be able to make this happen. And it's what chambers do, is convening and building those relationships. And that's you guys executed well on that. So great job.
Thank you.
Uh,
It was really fun because it actually put us out in the community back meeting with our own members. But the underlying factor too is we knew we really couldn't continue our own small business development programs that we have if we didn't have that resource. It was critical for us to have that. So it was a great investment
right.
in time and resources.
Yes. Yeah. So I like asking, especially as we have you on as a Chamber of the Year finalist, for chambers that are out there listening, what kind of tip or action item might you share for a listener who's interested in taking their chamber up to the next level?
There are a lot of resources out there that are very beneficial. And I think you have to look at your own region to see what's needed the most. And then you can rely on, for us, we rely on our state chamber, the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, a lot. I mean, we work very closely with them. We rely on the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and rely on them. And as a chamber executive, we rely on the Association of Chamber of Commerce Executives. There are great resources available that if you just will take the time, and I'm just going to say that's probably some of the hardest thing. That's the hardest that you have to find, because as a chamber executive, chamber staff person, you're managing a lot of different tasks. No day is ever the same. No crisis is ever the same. No celebration is ever the same. And so you have to really be always looking to see what someone else is doing. And in the chamber world, I think we call it R&D, the rip and duplicate, and you make it your own. And we do that, and we're honored when another chamber does that from something that we're doing. If we can help them to be more successful, that's awesome, because that's helping more communities to be successful, more chambers of commerce. So identify what's needed in your community, look around and see what would be the best organization for you to align yourself with on any particular issue. And it's going to vary from issue to issue.
I love that. In fact, as I introduced what Chamber Chat Podcast is all about to chamber professionals, I'll use the tagline that it's your weekly R&D resource, right? So every week you get new ideas that you can rip off and duplicate. So I love that, learning from others.
Yes, thank you.
As we look to the future of chambers, how do you see the future of chambers and their purpose going forward?
I'm going to go back to the fact that I think you have to identify what's important in your community, because we're all different. We all have different challenges and different opportunities, and identify what is going to help your community and make a determination if that's something your chamber should be the lead on, should maybe be play the second role in and pushing. Sometimes you just have to push maybe it's a different organization, or maybe it's the government that should be in the lead, and you're the one pushing them to help them better understand that. There are times that you're going to need to be in the lead and look to others to help you with that. But you're going to have to stay relevant in your own community.
I like that, trying to figure out what your role should be and what your community needs. I think a lot of chambers just jump to the conclusion of, oh, we need to be the lead. And like you said, oftentimes being that second role and helping to push it along and explain why things are important is very helpful. You're still leading, but you don't have to take that main charge and carry that weight that comes with it as well. So great piece of advice with that as well. Well, Sandra, before we let you go, I wanted to give you an opportunity to share any contact information for listeners who'd like to reach out and learn more about how you guys are doing things there in Paducah. What would be the best way for them to reach out and connect with you?
Okay, that's great. I always appreciate sharing information, and I can tell you that I call others all the time to ask for their advice. So you can reach us at paducahchamber.org, and my direct email is swilson@paducahchamber.org. And let me spell Paducah, Paducah, Paducah. And our info, if you can't remember S. Wilson, info@paducahchamber.org will get you through to ours, and we'll answer you.
That's perfect. And I'll get it in our show notes for this episode as well, so that somebody can pull that up and find your email and website and all that good stuff. But Sandra, this has been great to have you back on Chamber Chat Podcast. And again, big congratulations to you and your team for being selected as a finalist, for the great work you guys are doing in the Paducah area. And I wish you and your team best of luck as Chamber of the Year.
Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for all you do for the chamber profession. We really do appreciate it. Thank you.
If you are a chamber professional, please subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast in Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify. When you subscribe to Chamber Chat Podcast, new episodes will show up in your podcast app each week as they are released. If you're finding value in this podcast, please leave us a rating and a review in iTunes. But most importantly, please share Chamber Chat Podcast with your colleagues that are in the industry.